The story kicks off by showing us a little girl with wings who's really badly hurt. Crying her eyes out, she says she's going to get stronger to end all injustice. We flash forward several years into the future, where that same girl, now all grown up, is in the middle of a battlefield against this story's heroes. That's where we learn her name is, or at least she's known as, the conqueror Lufas Mafahel. The fight starts immediately. Lufas knocks out the healer, blocks the archer's arrows, and goes toe-to-toe with the bear guy, who she beats easily. Same goes for the archer, whom she catches off guard and finishes off by running him through with a storm of swords. Then the dwarf jumps in and, with a massive hit, sends Lufas flying. Just as she was about to finish him, he triggers his artifact's self-destruct, causing a giant explosion all over the place. But Lufas walks out of it without a scratch. At that moment, the hero shows up, but our protagonist spots him and lands a punch. The thing is, it was a water clone made by the mage, and the real one appears behind her. Lufas just smirks, as if to say, "I saw that coming." And just like that, we see the hero get stabbed through. However, Lufas had no idea this was all part of the hero's plan. All of a sudden, we see him use his climax skill and completely regenerate his body. Lufas tries to get away, but the hero grabs her hand, won't let go, and stabs her with his sword. The mage seizes this chance and uses a subspace sealing spell to trap Lufas. As all the heroes stare at her, she starts laughing and tells them they're magnificent, and that maybe they're the ones who can actually beat Orm, the Demon King. Alright, now we switch to our main character, the player who was controlling Lufas, as he reads the comments on his defeat. Suddenly, Villainess, the goddess of creation and creator of the world of Xgate, pops up on his screen. He figures it's a message from the game devs, and just in case, he accepts whatever it is. Instantly, he's zapped to another world. When he opens his eyes, he hears a bunch of people and notices his body feels different. He looks in a mirror and realizes he looks exactly like Lufas. Totally confused, he wonders if he's dreaming or if he actually got sucked into the game. He looks up and sees an elf who is scared out of his mind. Our guy was about to ask something nicely, but the moment he says a single word, this insane pressure fills the room and everyone just drops to the floor. He then realizes he accidentally used the intimidation skill and calms down. Everyone is in shock, but the terrified elf says there's no doubt they've just resurrected the conqueror. Lufas walks up to him, looks him straight in the eye, and demands an explanation for what's going on. The elf faints from her intimidating stare. Once things have calmed down, the king explains that 200 years have passed since she was sealed, and in an attempt to defeat the Demon King, who is still alive, they tried to summon a hero using the Xgate technique, but instead, she showed up. Being a huge fan of the game, our guy starts thinking how awesome it is that they used Xgate, since in the game it was just a name. But putting that aside, he notices that everyone looks terrified, so he decides he needs to get out of there fast to let them chill out. He tells them he has no plans to change the world, that even though he was defeated, he's happy with how that fight turned out. Besides, he's not Lufas anymore, just a guy with broken dreams. Spreading his wings, he tells them that all he wants right now is to see this world and appreciate it. So he asks them to just forget about her and keep trying to summon the hero. With that, he leaves. When he gets outside and sees the massive world, he gets excited and shouts that he can finally explore the world of Xgate Online that he loves so much. As he's flying around, he wonders how he's supposed to get back to his own world, but he quickly brushes it off, saying he'll worry about it later. Just then, he spots a super tall tower that reaches past the clouds and decides to head there first. Our protagonist then explains that Xgate Online is a fantasy game in a dangerous world called Midgard. A key part of the game is the war system between humans and elves, where nations fight and the winner gets to absorb the loser's territory. Another cool feature is its novel system. Basically, whatever players did got recorded and became part of the game's official lore. And since he trained Lufas non-stop, leveled up, and spent a ton of money to be one of the top players, he was the first person in history to unify all of Midgard. He also became so important in the system that he was basically a semi-official character. But obviously, having one player dominate the whole game is no fun. So he talked to other high-level players, and they split into two sides, Lufas' side and the hero's side, called the Army of Light. They declared war on each other and had the biggest battle in the game's history. They even forgot about the game's official final boss. Back in the present, Lufas reaches the top of the tower, which turns out to be her base, the Mafal Celestial Tower. She opens the door and sees that everything's just as she left it, just a bit run down. It's a total nostalgia trip. She sits on her old throne and thinks back on the time she spent with her companions. Suddenly, a girl with light blue hair shows up. When she sees our protagonist, she smiles, walks over, and excitedly tells her she's been waiting for 200 years. Lufas, confused, asks who she is, which completely crushes the girl. But she introduces herself anyway, as Dina, her loyal counselor and servant. That's when Lufus remembers that when she built the base, she put an NPC in the tower with a weird setting, something like Lufas's counselor. Our protagonist is baffled, wondering how an NPC gained consciousness and has been waiting for her this whole time. He starts to wonder if maybe this world is the game, but he decides to worry about that later. He apologizes to Dina and praises her for doing such a great job protecting the place while she was gone. Lufus gives her the short version of what happened and how she came back. After that, she asks Dina to spill the tea on everything that's happened since she's been away. Dina starts by explaining that the guys who beat her got the nickname the Seven Heroes. Each founded their own country, and that 4 of them died of old age, but the 3 with the longest lifespans are still around. This gets our protagonist curious, wondering if they could be players like him. Dina continues, saying the Demon King is still alive because he totally wrecked the 7 heroes. Lufus asks if there's anything else she should know. Dina then mentions that the 12 heavenly stars are doing fine. Hearing this, Lufus explains to us that this is the official name for the Conqueror's Own. Basically, they're 12 NPC monsters that were her companions. She says she got lucky and found some super rare and tough monsters, and she nicknamed the strongest ones the 12 heavenly stars. She remembers a time when she thought every respectable final boss needed to have their 4 top generals. After learning they're okay, she asks how they're doing. Dina says she knows where 6 of them are, but 2 of them joined the Demon King's army to get revenge on the humans who defeated her. Lufus is disappointed they'd stooped so low and promises to give them a good scolding. With that, she decides her first mission is to round up the 12 heavenly stars. He also thinks to himself that he'll use this chance to check if the 3 remaining heroes are players like him. Dina pulls out a map and shows him that the closest one is Ares, who is in Seville, the same place where Megrez, one of the 7 heroes, lives. Knowing this, Lufus spreads her wings and gets ready to take off, but Dina stops her and asks if she's really going to go just like that, with no prep, or if she even has any money. Lufus says no and asks if she has any. Dina says she's broke too, because she spent it all waiting for her for so long. Realizing they need cash, Dina says it's going to be tough since everyone knows who Lufus is. Lufus argues that 200 years have passed, and since there are no photos, nobody will recognize her. Dina tells her that's a hard no, saying that long-lived races like the elves will definitely remember her. Plus, her wings draw the wrong kind of attention, as winged beings see them as an abomination. In the middle of all this, Lufus asks what they should do, and Dina says there's only one way to make money, a job where no one cares about your past or who you are. In other words, becoming an adventurer. And so, we see them in the city of Idalin, with Lufus in a suspicious-looking outfit. When they get to the guild, they look for a decent quest and find one to exterminate orcs. Lufus explains here that in the game, when you killed an orc, there was a 3% chance it would drop meat that increased your health. A classic farming spot, you know? Seeing the reward, they decide to take the mission. So we see them in Isle Village. They talk to the village chief, who explains the situation and begs them to get rid of the monsters. Dina and Lufus promise to handle it. They head into the forest and find the orcs' lair. Dina is grossed out by how the monsters look and tells Lufus to just wipe them all out already. Our protagonist agrees. She takes off the coat that's bothering her, spreads her wings, and gets ready to finish the job. But first, she checks her stats and sees she's at max level, exactly like in the game. Knowing this, she understands it's all up to her. She snaps her fingers and uses transmute. We then see the ground turn into swords, and in a flash she takes out a bunch of orcs. But more orcs pour out of the lair and surround her. A giant hand comes out of the cave. It's the orc chief. Lufus doesn't even blink. From her perspective, all the orcs trying to attack her are moving in slow motion. Disappointed, she starts taking them down one by one, creating a rain of blood. Seeing this, the orc chief is completely stunned. Lufus then appears right in front of him and starts commenting on how weak they are. She turns to him and asks if he didn't just see what she did. The orc chief, in total desperation, throws everything he's got at her, but when he sees she's completely unharmed, he freezes in fear. He tries to back up and accidentally knocks over a torch, starting a fire. Lost in despair, he tries to attack our protagonist again. But Lufus teleports right in front of him and says it's not that they're weak, it's just that she's way too strong. Meanwhile, from the orc chief's point of view, he sees her as a giant creature, a goddess about to end his life. In reality, Lufus just gives him a little tap on the forehead with her fist. She says you can't even call this a fight, it's not even a game. And just like that, the orc's head explodes in front of her. Lufus just stares and says, this is nothing more than a massacre. But, well, if you've made it this far, comment the word Part 2 to let me know you've reached the end. Here on the screen, I leave you with these 2 cool videos, just like the person watching this video. See you next time. Take care, drink water, take a shower, and bye.